There is one interview exercise that trips up almost every QA candidate who is not specifically prepared for it. The interviewer stops the structured question portion of the interview, opens a laptop, pulls up an application, a website, a mobile app, sometimes a form with 5 fields and a submit button, slides it toward you, and says, "Find as many bugs as you can in the next 10 minutes. Most candidates freeze for the first 30 seconds. Then they test the happy path, fill in the form with valid data, click submit, see that it works. Then they find one obvious thing, mention it, and run out of anything else to say by minute 4. The interviewer watches the remaining 6 minutes pass with mounting concern. Here is the thing, the interviewer is almost never primarily evaluating whether you find a specific bug. They have already found all the bugs in this application. They built the exercise. What they are evaluating is how you think. Whether you have a system. Whether you can communicate clearly under pressure. Whether you are someone they want making testing decisions on their product. In this episode 1, I'm going to walk you through exactly how to approach this exercise. The categories to work through, the specific techniques to apply within each category, how to communicate what you are doing as you do it, and how to summarize your findings at the end in a way that leaves a strong, lasting impression. Before you touch the application, take 30 seconds to narrate your approach out loud. This is the single most important thing you can do in the first minute of the exercise, and almost no candidate does it. Say something like, "Before I start clicking, I want to take a moment to lay out my approach. I am going to start by understanding what this application is supposed to do at a high level, the intended user journey and the core functionality. Then I will test the happy path to verify the core flow works as expected. From there I will systematically work through boundary values and edge cases on any input fields. Then I will check error handling, what happens when things go wrong. And finally I will look for UI and consistency issues across the different states of the application." That one paragraph, 30 seconds spoken aloud, tells the interviewer everything. You have a methodology. You categorize your thinking. You are not random. You prioritize the most important things first. You know that happy path verification comes before edge case exploration. And you are comfortable talking through your reasoning in real time. All of that is visible before you have found a single bug. The category structure you just described is the entire framework you are going to execute against for the remainder of the 10 minutes. Keep it in your head. Work through it systematically. The first category is the happy path, and you complete it first for 2 reasons. If the happy path is broken, that is your most critical finding and you need to know immediately. And if the happy path works, you have established a baseline understanding of what the application does that informs everything else you look at. Test the primary intended user journey. What is this application supposed to do, and can it do it with normal valid data? The second category is boundary value testing, and this is where you move into edge cases on input fields. Every input field that accepts user data has boundaries. An age field has a minimum and a maximum. A username field has a minimum and maximum character length. A quantity field might only accept positive integers. A date field might only accept future dates. For each significant input, test the boundary values, the exact minimum, the exact maximum, one below the minimum, one above the maximum. Then test values that are technically within the accepted range but unusual, the empty string, a string consisting only of spaces, an extremely long string. Special characters, single quote, double quote, angle brackets, ampersand, percentage sign. Numbers where the field expects text. Text where the field expects numbers. The reason boundary values matter is that applications are almost always tested by developers and testers using realistic, normal data. The first person to try something unrealistic is often the user. Your job is to try it first. The second major category is error handling, and this is where you will find some of the most impactful issues. Error handling tests answer the question, when something goes wrong, does the application respond correctly? Start by submitting forms with required fields left empty. Does the application show a clear, specific error message explaining which field is required and why? Or does it silently do nothing? Or does it show a generic error with no actionable information? Submit the form with data in an invalid format. An email field with no @sign. A phone number with letters. A date in the wrong format. Does the error message tell you what is wrong and what format is expected? Or does it just say something went wrong with no further context? Try to navigate directly to a URL that should require authentication without being logged in. Are you redirected to the login page? Are you shown a proper 403 response? Or does the application show you a broken page, expose a stack trace, or leak sensitive information? Any error that exposes a stack trace, a database query, server-side file paths, or internal variable names to the user should be flagged as a security issue, not just a display issue. Security-adjacent bugs found during a 10-minute exploratory test are impressive findings. They signal a tester who thinks about risk, not just functionality. The third major category is consistency in UI, and while these bugs are often dismissed as cosmetic, they carry more signal than people realize. UI inconsistency is a smell. It indicates that the application was not carefully reviewed before it shipped. And if the visible surface was not carefully reviewed, the invisible behavior probably was not either. Here is what to look for in the UI consistency category. Check that button labels are consistent. Do buttons that perform the same action have the same label across different pages? Check that terminology is consistent. Does the application use the same word for the same concept throughout, or does it call it a cart on one page and a basket on another? Check date and number formats. Are all dates formatted the same way, and are currency amounts formatted consistently? Check alignment and layout. Are elements aligned as expected, or do some overflow their containers or overlap each other? Check text for truncation. In narrow viewports or with long user-supplied content, does text get cut off unexpectedly? Check loading and empty states. What happens while data is loading, and what happens when there is no data to display? These are the states that developers often forget to design and test because they are focused on the data-filled happy path. A tester who checks empty states demonstrates that they think about the full lifecycle of the application, not just its ideal operating condition. When the 10 minutes are up, or when you sense the interviewer is ready to wrap up, do not wait for them to ask what you found. Summarize proactively and structure it clearly. Say something like, in the time available I worked through 4 categories of testing. On the happy path I verified that the core user flow completes successfully with valid data. On boundary values I found one issue: the quantity field accepts negative numbers and 0, which would allow a user to place an order for a negative quantity. That should probably be validated both on the client and on the server. On error handling I found that submitting the registration form with an empty required field produces no visible feedback and no error message, which would confuse a user. And on the UI I noticed that the submit button on the registration page and the continue button on the checkout page perform functionally similar actions but have inconsistent visual styling and labeling. If I had to prioritize, I would flag the missing error message as the highest priority because it directly affects the core user journey, and the negative quantity validation is second because it could have business logic implications. Structure. Prioritization. Reasoning. Concrete examples. That is what a strong answer to this exercise sounds like. You have now completed Series 5 of QA Career Lab, building a real QA portfolio. You have a portfolio project, a test plan framework, API tests, a Docker setup, CI with GitHub Actions, a strong resume, and interview preparation. That is the complete package. Everything you need to land your first QA role. Good luck, and I will see you in Series 6.